Discipline and strict enforcement of the policies and the laws of the land may be seen as harsh implementations by many but viewed as a necessary tool by others. Some say that overflowing strictness borders on oppression, and this often leads to resentment of the people. However, advocates of stern application of the rules debate that lenient measures result in uncooperative citizens who will never take authority seriously. Whatever their reasons, the following nations are champions of strict governance and implementation of their laws. Some may be bounded by tradition, others by religion. But these countries are serious when it comes to their policies, and this is something you should consider before entering their boundaries. Every country has its own set of rules and customs. As responsible travelers, we should always be mindful of what we pack and how we should behave abroad to be respectful to the locals and stay out of trouble. Otherwise, we might receive odd looks or get fined. Or even worse, get ourselves deported or detained for something that seems completely normal to us, but isn't in other countries. We have gathered the list of countries that enforce strict rules for their visitors. Certain rules come in a package and can be found in various countries with similar cultures, while others are oddly specific and unique to just one place. Now, you will have a clear idea of what to expect if you happen to travel to the countries we have here. Number 10. North Korea, the only country today that is still purely communist. North Korea accepts tourists from other nations other than South Korea and the United States. Tourists are assigned personal escorts called minders. These escorts will accompany tourists from the day they come in to the day they fly out to ensure they are not breaking any rules, such as speaking against the North Korean government. Everything is controlled by the administration, from TV, radio, and print. Contents for news and broadcast are censored. Internet access is only granted to the ruling elite, and even their online activities are strictly monitored. As for North Koreans, their movements are very limited. They are not allowed to loiter in parks, and all their movements and activities must be supported by a valid reason. Sexual relationships between non-married couples are prohibited. The government's dating police are tasked to ensure no such relationships occur. North Korea also has a strict fashion code. For example, women are not allowed to wear pants and men should cut their hair every 15 days. Violations are punishable by forced labor for a certain period of time. North Korea never ceases to amaze the whole world, despite the fact that this country is closed to ordinary tourists, and you are unlikely to see a photo from there on Instagram. Nevertheless, sometimes interesting information about this country does get out. The country is considered the most closed country, which is not surprising given the number of terrible laws. The state takes away fundamental rights from its citizens and imposes strange totalitarian rules on them. Number 9. Iran. Unlike most countries governed by philosophical tenets, Iran's governance is based on religion, and that is the Sharia law. Prohibited in Iran are actions and propaganda against the government. A slight statement in the negative about how bad the Iranian government is enough to get you in trouble. Logging on to social media sites like Facebook, Google+, and YouTube also means trouble. Men cannot sport certain hairstyles other than what is prescribed in Islam. Women are not allowed to go out in public unless they adhere to certain dress codes, such as covering their head in hijab and avoiding skinny jeans. Western music such as jazz, rock, and rap are strictly prohibited. Alcoholic beverages for both men and women are highly discouraged. Iranian law states that anyone who explicitly violates any religious taboo in public should be imprisoned for up to 2 months or flogged with 74 lashes. In practice, this means women must cover their hair with a headscarf and their arms and legs with loose clothing. According to Amnesty International, authorities have imposed forced hijab on girls as young as 7 years old. Most commonly, women deemed to be unsuitably dressed are detained until family members bring them appropriate clothing, and they sign a statement saying they won't do it again. But in some cases, women, like Ms. Amini, are sent to a guidance center to be taught how to dress appropriately. The hijab has been compulsory in Iran since the Islamic Revolution in 1979, and in Afghanistan women have also long been subjected to laws and cultural obligations over their attire. Number 8. Syria. Violence has increased in Syria over the years as clashes between the government and the rebel forces continue to mount. To quell anti-government actions, the Syrian regime has resorted to a nationwide communications blackout. Communications through mobile and landline phones and internet access are significantly limited. Foreign news correspondents are banned from entering the country and news is heavily monitored. Syrian journalists who act against the government are tortured or, worse, end up dead. If you happen to visit Syria, it is unwise to make any remarks about the president, the government, and the Ba'ath Party. In fact, such comments may cause alarm. The weird fact is that Syria is not a democracy, and critical comments regarding the Syrian government must be avoided. Male or female, visitors can generally wear whatever attire they would normally wear in their home countries. However, when visiting religious sites, you must dress in such a way as no part of your body is unnecessarily exposed. Direct eye contact is the norm, and the opposite must be avoided. Indirect eye contact can be viewed as rude or even condescending. That you are superior. Isn't that weird? But when talking with an elderly person, indirect eye contact could be forgiven and seen as being polite/humble. When greeting, avoid physical contact with people of the opposite sex to whom you are not related. It could cause offense to very religious people. Let a woman extend her hand for a shake before you oblige her. Never initiate a handshake with a woman. If she does not extend her hand, then politely place your hand on your chest and nod slightly. Well, there is nothing weird about that, right? Number 7. Eritrea. Situated above the Horn of Africa, Eritrea has been ruled by President Isaias Afwerki, who came to power in 1993. The president and his government have full control of the media in the country, with their agencies having total control of the news and who writes the news. Nothing gets published or broadcasted without the approval of the president's office. Religion is also controlled. No one is allowed to perform public worship, and one has to apply as a member to a certain sect before they can be allowed to practice their faith. Number 6. Equatorial Guinea. In Equatorial Guinea, people are discouraged from learning how to read and write. There are no bookstores or newsstands in the country. Tourism is also low as foreigners are normally not allowed to enter the country. The government, which has been run by President Teodoro Obiang Nguema since a coup installed him in 1973, controls the TV and radio stations. Foreigners who are allowed to enter Equatorial Guinea are closely monitored and prohibited from filming scenes and conditions that portray poverty. Number 5. Saudi Arabia. While Saudi Arabia has recently taken down their curtains and huddled with the rest of the world, the country is still deeply rooted in laws that stem from religion and tradition. Social laws, which mostly apply to women, are stern. For example, women are not allowed to drive or be with a man who is not a relative or go out in public in casual clothes. Internet access is restricted and media outlets are closely watched. Senior editors can get fired and arrested if they allow them to publish or broadcast any content that says something negative about the government. In Saudi Arabia, there are no specific statutes or laws to govern by. The sole constitution that is used is the Quran, which all judges have to interpret conservatively. Many actions that are considered illegal have no actual written laws to ban them. A lot of them are not even addressed in the Quran. Some of these bans also occur in other countries. But this list is specifically about Saudi Arabia since I was born there and I grew up, along with millions of others, shackled by these laws. The general rule in regards to the legality of something is that if it is suspected to be haram, forbidden or clashing with Islamic law, or may lead people astray from Islam, then suspicion alone is grounds for banning it. Every February 14th entails the same procedure. Flower shops and gift shops are prohibited from selling red roses, anything heart-shaped or red for that matter on that day by the Committee for the Promotion of Virtue and the Prevention of Vice, CPVP, otherwise known as the religious police. The penalty for violating that rule would lead to the store being shut down. Also on that day, schoolgirls are prohibited from wearing anything red, not even a red scarf. Any girl that shows up to school with a hint of red is barred from entry and is sent home to change whatever it is that is red. The usual reasoning for banning anything red on Valentine's Day is to discourage people from celebrating it, as it is not an Islamic occasion, and it may lead people astray, and to prevent people dating or from having any contact outside marriage. Number 4. Cuba. Home to Cuban cigars and the late Fidel Castro, Cuba is mainly projected as a top holiday destination in the world. But behind its paradise beaches and hit-moving Latin music, Cuba is still a communist country, and those who speak out against the government are always in trouble. The internet is screened regularly, and writers who post anti-government sentiments will likely face jail time if they get arrested. Cubans know how to party, and they know their alcohol. But playing reggaeton is a big no-no. Number 3. China. China is a booming economy that can take the world by storm. With China being open to other nations, it has projected a very positive image amidst territorial rows with its neighbors. But one should understand that China is still a communist country, and that means no one should ever cross the government, ever. Anti-government propaganda is immediately traced, and those responsible are silenced. It is a crime to instill Western thoughts and influences in the minds of the Chinese youth. Media is controlled. So is access to the internet. Nobody is allowed to discuss topics that pertain to rebellion, change, reform, and most specifically, the Tiananmen protests of 1989. Number 2. Japan. Many believe that the feudal system that once was in place in Japan a long time ago had significant influences on how the modern Japanese government does its business. The hierarchy of authority is prevalent in almost all structures, in the household, school, office, and the workplace. Everybody respects the one who is higher than him. Japanese companies also adhere to strict working policies, and all employees, from the CEO down to the lowly staff, are expected to perform and excel in their designations. Talking about World War II and the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki is prohibited. Number 1. Singapore. Singapore may be small, but the government's firm implementation of their rules and policies on locals and tourists alike are notches higher compared to other countries in this list. Any wrong move will cost someone a fine. Spitting in public has a fine. Smoking in public will get you in serious trouble. Wearing the wrong dress when going out will land you in jail. And those are just petty violations. One can only imagine how stringent the Singaporean government is when dealing with serious crimes. But this very solid adherence to the rules makes Singapore a world-class economy with standards of living rated higher than most advanced European nations. Friends, what are your thoughts regarding this? Let us know by commenting below. If you liked the video, then like and share with your friends and relatives. And for more information and learning videos, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon.